All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Black on Tour. You know what I'm saying? So today we got a very special guest. Her name is Jasmine Fain. I'm pronouncing that right?
Yeah.
Awesome. She can be described as a Southern Dallas native, Oklahoma State alumna, part-time hip-hop lyric quoter, and most important, she uses her knowledge in professional writing, grant writing, and marketing to create spaces for underrepresented organizations or companies in our world. As a former grant writer, her days are now spent serving as a nonprofit business coach, teaching nonprofits to create cash flow. This is going to be a very great interview, y'all. Cash flow without grants. She is also the CEO of Empower You, a marketing tech startup she established in 2019, creating a marketplace for nonprofits to advertise their programs directly to consumers. And I am a part of that with Word Apparel Co. And I can tell you it's a phenomenal program. So if you have a nonprofit, please join. I'm gonna put the ad name in here, so don't worry. And I'm gonna show the page as well. So be a part of that, man. You won't regret it. She believes that even after we get a seat at the table, we must teach each other how to build a better table than the one we are sitting at. And in her free time, you can catch Jasmine traveling the world or practicing her hobby of natural light photography around the best spots in Dallas. Welcome, Jasmine.
Thank you. I'm excited to drop gems tonight. Like I've been talking to y'all back and forth on social media. We spilling tea. We giving all the knowledge tonight.
Yes. So I just want to start off with the first question.
Yes.
Who are you and what do you do?
Besides what you read about me, so of course my name is Jasmine Fain, the nonprofit guru on Instagram, but most importantly, Southern Dallas born and raised. So parents grew up in Oak Cliff. I wasn't raised in Oak Cliff, but everybody in my family's from Oak Cliff. So, but most importantly, I can say that I work 24/7 in the nonprofit industry, and I've been the executive director over a nonprofit. I've been the marketing director in South Africa over a nonprofit, so worked in the NGO space. I know, like, my brothers and sisters over there, and then came back and developed the cash flow without grants program. But of course, like you said, I'm college trained and professionally trained as a grant writer, and just kind of saw that grants were not it for Black founders. So I was like, I got to find a way to like make this much better. And then also with Empower You, I work in the startup space. So through my program, I was like, why can't 501c3s be social impact company startups? So I combine both of the two spaces to get us the leverage and growth that we need. So yeah.
Killing it, bro. Hey, I'm telling y'all, this is about to be a gem. Tell your friends, tell your kids, tell your friends, man, because it's about to go down. I'm really not tell you.
So like, I got a question. You know,
yeah.
Before we get to the Jasmine now, you know what I'm saying? I want to go back to the Jasmine before this.
Ooh.
Nah.
Okay, so you want Jasmine? Which college version of Jasmine? Because look, there.
All right. Let me think. Okay, I want the freshman Jasmine.
Freshman Jasmine. Okay.
First coming in.
I said freshman because that's where it all started. I can say that my purpose didn't like. When I got out of high school, I was like, I wanted to be an astronomy, aerospace engineer. I wanted to do math. But I was naturally talented at writing in high school. But also I was a competitive cheerleader. My whole life, I was going to do Team USA, all of that. And I purposely went to Oklahoma State to try out for their cheer squad. In the midst of training during my freshman year, I got injured 3 times. I strained my lumbar muscle, and then I strained my MCL also. And so I was sitting in my dorm room and I was like, y'all, and by the way, I Yahuwah, I use God. Yeah, all that Hebrew names. So gotta clarify that for the people. So I was just like, y'all, what am I gonna do? I can't cheer. I can't try out. What am I gonna do? And he was just like, if you let me show you your purpose, I will take you to places you can't like imagine. And so I dropped cheerleading, and the following semester, I became the vice president, the youngest vice president over her campus, Oklahoma State, which was a magazine on campus. Did that all the way until my senior year, and literally opportunities on opportunities in my purpose just kept coming. I became Miss Black Oklahoma State University. I led initiatives on campus, political action delegate, and it just all kind of stacked up. But I can say what really got me into the nonprofit industry was my junior year of college. I worked for 4 Oak Cliff, and they're having their back to school festival coming up.
Right.
So y'all attend that. Just before up at 4 Oak Cliff. And I had never worked in the nonprofit industry, but I knew I wanted to as a grant writer. And so during that process, I was able to fully develop my purpose within that space, really understand what it means to engage with a community. And I'm glad it was with the Oak Cliff community, because I had been raised around that community my whole life, but to engage with actual social and economic problems within that community changed my perspective. Also during that time is where I became the executive director over a scholarship program. So I was thrown full force into leading a nonprofit, leading a scholarship program. I remember I was told, they were like, in 2 weeks, you got to plan a basketball tournament and you got to raise $1,000 in scholarship money. And I was like, okay, I don't know what we about to do, but we made it happen. The basketball tournament, we got a sponsorship with Dallas Mavericks, their foundation side, and then we raised the money purely through sponsorships and donations. So, we made it happen. But that was the driving force. And even during that time, I can say with Empower You, I had laid out the business plan. It was in a nonprofit model, but I had took a class and they were like, develop a business plan. So I was like, I'm gonna develop the idea I want to do. Yeah. And so I had wrote it out, but it wasn't until I graduated that I knew I was supposed to start this company. And I just sat on it. I was like, I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna do this. It was just one of those things that Yahuwah was like, you need to do it. You need to do it. This is your only path. And to the point where I started working as a full-time grant writer for a nonprofit. And it was probably the most draining 3 months of my entire life. And I did that internship or / working to run from that business plan. And when I said, like, I couldn't sleep at night, my eyes were tired, to the point I went to a conference and I think I slept majority of the conference because my job was wearing me out so much. And during that conference, I was like, you know what? I'm quitting next week and I'm starting this business. And that's what I did. And in that conference, I met Mandela Dixon, one of the mentors over Founder Gym, actually the founder over Founder Gym. And Founder Gym is a tech accelerator. So I'm like asking people around, I'm like, so can I get in with the idea? Like, what's up? And they're like, oh, well, I've been running my business for like 5 years, so we don't know. And I'm like, okay, but I know the opportunity is right for me. I can feel it in my spirit. And so I was sitting down, came back home from the conference, sitting down looking at my computer, and I'm on the application website for Founder Gym. And I'm like, I don't know if I should do this. I just have an idea. I don't know. And I just heard Yahuwah say to me, apply, you're going to get in. And so I applied and I got all the way in, made it through all the rounds with the idea and the business plan. It was a 1.5 month accelerator. By the end of it, I had a full-time team, I had a business, and we were ready to go. And I'm a technical founder, so I'm / the CTO. So I learned to code in college. So I was able to build the product and everything. And here we are 1 year later, we're about to launch Empower You's product in the fall.
Yes.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So do you think that drive that you had for cheerleading back when you was younger, like that drive that you had to be like one of the best out there, like, I'm gonna make sure they see me. Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's how it is in cheerleading, because you're really a group, but you want people to see you. So like, do you think that drive of being a cheerleader, actually trying to be seen and trying to let people know, like, I'm the best at this? Do you think you translated to, what I'm saying, what you do now? Do you think that, like, actually you to actually be the best that you are? Like, you know.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I think I've realized the more I'm in this entrepreneurship game that even from a young age as a cheerleader, like I was always in a leadership position. I was always captain.
Right.
I just had this natural grit about myself to get it done, to be determined at anything that I do. I can even say in college, my degree plan, you know, I made sure that I was finishing somewhat early so that I had time to like rest before I graduated, like even in this business world. So yeah, mostly I wouldn't necessarily correlate it to cheerleading, but I can say I can look back on patterns in my life and say, okay, that's where that grit was, and that's why I am who I am.
Right. That's what's up. That's what's up. That's what's up, man.
Man, so that was wonderful. Everybody give a round of applause. Just wonderful. Just wonderful information. So moving on to the next question. How did you find your kind of go more in depth on how you found your niche, you know, as far as, you know, really tuning in, tapping into nonprofits more so?
Yeah. It was that summer working at Fort Oak Cliff. Like I said, I was a Girl Scout. So Girl Scouts, nonprofits, like you volunteer and you're like, cool. But never had worked behind the scenes of a nonprofit. And I can really attest, I tell Taylor this too, but I can really attest to that summer for really showing me, okay, this is my purpose. And I knew because every time I would go into Fort Oak Cliff, it wasn't like, oh, okay, here go this another internship. This is not what I do. I was happy in that. I was happy to go out in the heat and pass flyers. I was happy to grant write and different things like that. And so that's really how I got into the nonprofit. But I would say after college, it was more as it was just the natural flow of things, helping people. And I realized that mainly Black founders didn't have the help in the nonprofit industry. One, they didn't even have business plans. They didn't know where to start. And seeing, you know, founders who spent 10 years not making a salary really kind of ticked me off because I was like, okay, I'm going to a, you know, predominantly white institution. I see how their foundation is running. And then now I'm in the startup world and I'm starting to see systems and how different things are working. And so I started asking questions. I'm like, so why are Black people getting paid? Like, why haven't they made a salary? And so I think that's what really, and then after coming back from South Africa and seeing some of the same challenges and problems, I was like, yeah, this got to be fixed. Because I'm like, if I can, as a startup company, use the same model and make money and teach nonprofits how to go into that space and make money, like, why hasn't anybody done this? So, yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. Man, I know I'll say one thing.
Everybody eats, B.
Everybody eats, B. Hey, I would say she checked me and my hippie real good. I'm talking about took the whole threw the rug out from under me. She was like, nah, I need to change this. And I'm telling you, man, just minor changes that we made, and we're just much better off, like structure wise, and it's amazing. I'm telling you, she really knows what she's got going on. For sure. So this leads me to the next question.
Yes.
What makes you so unique? What makes you more or stand out other than besides other businesses, other consultation people, you know?
Yeah. What makes me unique is I understand the social impact startup space. It's a very, I would say, under the radar space right now. Because a lot of people talk about 501c3, how to get the tax exempt, all that. But nobody really merges the for-profit model. I mean, you can attest to this, Tyreek. You know, I told y'all straight up, I told them straight up, I was like, y'all have the perfect model that nobody is really looking at. But y'all have to make it work for you. Right. And, you know, I tell my businesses all the time, like, fundraiser only means raising funds. You know, don't go on Google and think I got to do the chocolate fundraiser, I got to do the ticket sales or different things like that, or the galas. I got to copy what Goodwills are doing. You're like, no, you raise funds the way you know how to best raise funds. So I use, you know, World Apparel Co. for example, all the time. I say, if you want to be a clothing design and you know you can make $1,000 and break even on your programs that way, do it. That's what your community likes. That's what's going to make you money. Right. And so in that sense, yeah.
Yes, man, that definitely. Hey, that right there really sets you apart from other people that I've had consultations with. Like, that's why I keep going back to her. If y'all didn't know, other consultations, and I keep going back because she knows the game, and she was she just stands out. Everybody else was the same. And I was like, man, I can get this off YouTube. But she really goes down and breaks down everything that you need to do, like really strips you down to the bare minimum and then builds you back up. But she's really good at that.
And I would even say also, and a lot of people see on my Instagram, I'm very unapologetic about Black voices in the nonprofit space. So I'm gonna tell you like it is, what's been happening, what's been under the radar. You'll meet foundations, especially being a grant writer for so long and seeing the foundation side. You see foundations really just tell Black nonprofits that, oh, you're too donation based, so we're not going to give you that money. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense. So I'm very unapologetic about what I say on my Instagram, especially when it comes to Black people, because you have to be like that nowadays. You know, if we want to get the money, if we want to be supported, sometimes you got to be yourself and be unapologetic about how you share your voice. So
absolutely.
We at a time now where we can't be apologetic about
at all.
So I feel it out the muscle, like for real.
Super. Man, look, do y'all see this page though? It's so uniquely put together. Like, sheesh, man. Like, are you a professional blogger or something? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, okay, so in college I had a blog, but like I said, writing comes naturally to me, and then with the photography side, it just like all combines. But thank you, because I really been trying on my Instagram page. I was like planning content and like having to shoot photos with my camera. So yeah, it's just the natural photographer in me coming out.
Okay, so like, what's just, you ain't gotta give us the, you know, if you want to drop the whole thing, that's cool. But I want to know like what's some key tips, like as far as the marketing side of things, you know what I'm saying, or what it is, like, so you know what I'm saying, anything, any product that anybody's trying to sell, no matter if it's food, no matter if it's clothes, no matter if it's even music, no matter what it is, like what is some good key marketing tips for the people to, you know, try to, you know what I'm saying, grasp and get they pen and pad out, you know, and write down so they can
Well, first off, I always tell people you have to evaluate your target audience. The people on Instagram are not your target audience. Oftentimes, those are the people who give you money, your funders, your foundations. Those are the people that are on Instagram. Your target audience are the people that are everyday. And so I go through this exercise with people of, you know, having them close their eyes and idealize their our ideal target audience race, skin color, you know, what is their sexuality, gender, most importantly, what is their economic background, what does their housing situation look like? And so once you are able to really hone in on, okay, this is my customer, now you think about, okay, on an everyday basis, where are they? What type of job do they work? Or where are they going to buy groceries? Where do they go to shop? And then once you're able to narrow down those places, you have to do the grassroots marketing. You have to do the community engagement to really find your target audience. Like I said, social media collects everybody. You know, one day you might get 2 people who are your ideal target audience, and then the next day you might not get anybody and might get a friend. But when it comes down to the root, you have to find that person. Right. So, for example, you know, if I'm looking for a mother who needs childcare, I'm probably going to go to the laundromats. I'm going to go to the daycare centers, and I'm going to speak to her one-on-one, because our ideal target audience is moving through everyday life. They don't know we need us. They don't even know oftentimes that we exist. And so we have to stop them in their tracks in their everyday life and say, hey, I see you. I know you need me. Here's the information and the resource.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, see, that's what I'm saying, because like a lot of people feel like that social media is just like the only outlet for marketing. Like,
right.
You know, like me personally, like I'm fond to the groundwork. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you know, going out, passing out flyers.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Being in people's faces, but actually not even just putting a face with the brand. You know what I'm saying? Just actually showing like, hey, like this is who I am as a person.
Yeah.
To me, if you relate to me, this is something that you'll be interested in.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I actually, now I can see that that's one of the main things to actually market it out top. Because if you have a brand and people can't put a face with it, it's gonna be hard for them to follow it. Yeah, I can feel that.
Exactly. I can even go into, even though I speak on this as far as donor management, but even for any business where people are trying to give you money, I tell people you cannot outmanage or undermanage someone into caring about you. Right. If you don't do the community engagement and if you don't follow that up with newsletters, marketing, really showing them that, hey, I care, good quality content on your page to show that we are actually doing something, we care about our own brand identity, right. Then you can't, I don't care what software you pay thousands of dollars for, you can't make them like you. Right. Go through it in like the 4 stages of a relationship with my nonprofits. The first is interest. Like, if you do the community engagement right and you talk to that person, they're going to have interest in you. Right. But the second is they got to date you. They got to show up to your volunteer events. They got to see the newsletters. They got to participate in all of this stuff. And then, even then, they're still not in a relationship with you. They have to test, like dating, you got to test out the water, see what you like and don't like. Right. And then third, you're in a relationship. That means that when you send out an email or newsletter, this person is willing to give, but sometimes they may not give. It's back and forth. You have a relationship. But the last thing I tell people is you need full-time commitment as far as people who give you money and your donors. That means when you send an email, they say, hey, how much you need and even more. They give unapologetically to you and unconditionally to you without even looking. And so you can get, a lot of people say, well, I have a relationship with the people who give me money or my donors, but do you have full-time commitment? Do they really care about you? When you are spreading your name without you even having to tell them to like, hey, promote me. That's what you want in the end.
Facts.
So now,
that's helpful advice for me. You're a person. I'm over here sitting listening to myself. I got my mental, something in paper. I'm over here like, ooh, I need all of this. I need all of this right here too. Because a lot of people, this is information that a lot of people actually get. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. A lot of people be like, I'm gonna start a business and I'm gonna jump off the porch. Yeah. If it's for profit or non-profit, they just jump off the porch. And there's a lot of other things that come along with owning the business and starting the business.
Exactly.
People have to learn, you know what I'm saying? So this is information that anybody can use, no matter if you starting a business or you already have a business established, you know what I'm saying? Because rebranding is always great. That's always a good thing. Look at 2 Chainz. You know what I'm saying? Right. That's prime example right there. Rebranding is always something that can be
exactly.
One thing that I know a lot of people like to hear about is the process. A lot of people hate the process. Me personally, I enjoy the process. I like the process.
You feel good when you
going through it.
Or like I'll be like, okay, I get it. Yeah.
But a lot of people are holding back is looking at the process of things because especially with social media, we like instant gratification.
Yeah.
Because of that instant gratification, when whenever we start something, if we don't see results like how we see people on social media, we get bummed out. So one thing I like to do is I like to give people examples of enjoying the process. So what is one thing that you struggled in with your process and then also overcame and then enjoyed with your process as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it would have to go to delayed gratification. Gratification is what I struggle with, and even touching into the instant gratification. That's just one thing. We're in a culture where you see everybody on social media and the groundwork that you're doing. And I talk to my clients all the time. So I know that I'm changing people's, business plans and trajectory. But sometimes when you post on social media, like also my social media is in the process of switching. So, getting more nonprofit audience from like my college and, different audience like that. So sometimes when I talk about nonprofits, my old audience doesn't like, but if I post a bomb picture, everybody likes, so those things is like, no, I don't want y'all to see, like, I want the nonprofits to see the real information. And so I think that was the one thing I struggle with is, okay, do I keep this image to get the gratification or do I keep posting the right information to get the nonprofits where they're at? And so I think I can say I've found a pattern now to just realize, I've gotten DMs where people are like, I've been following you and I've seen your content. It's really helped me. And I know they haven't liked the post, but I know they're seeing it and it's helped growing their business.
Right.
So that was a process, but also a process is just listening to y'all. I don't like just listening. I'm a person where as soon as I get the idea, I'm like, let's go. Let's like the next day, I'm like immediately on Google typing out business plans. And just the waiting period of having to wait for so many different things. I can even say with Empower You, it's been a year, and I've been coding the website for a year, and we just had our soft launch last night with a focus group. And then we're hearing the feedback, and me and my COO were like, we got to go back to the drawing board. And sometimes I'm like, I want to release this product right now and get all the nonprofits on the site, but just the waiting period, knowing there's a reason why I got the feedback, there's a reason why I have to wait. Even in teaching nonprofits, there was a waiting period in between. I can say me going to South Africa. In South Africa, I was not taking, clarity calls and doing all this stuff. I took like 1 or 2 clarity calls, and I had to stay up to 3 a.m, time zone differences. Right. But, trying to figure out, why am I in South Africa? Why did I move across the world to work with this nonprofit? And like, why does y'all have me waiting for such a long time to really branch into my purpose? And so, but once I came back, I was like, okay, I realized why I had that period in between college and now to figure out. But also the best thing is, to me, I just love my clients. I love the success. One of my clients, Carter's House, Shawana Carter, one of the most amazing people here in Dallas. She got fully funded by the University of Texas at Dallas. She came with me with her program, and she was like, Jasmine, I want to do this. And I said, okay, we're going to do it. We're going to get it done. She's doing a village to help parents learn how to co-parent and manage their parenting skills. And I said, okay, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. We're going to do it virtual. We're going to get it done. And she got that fully funded by the University of Texas of Dallas, like fully funded. And so
round of applause. Shout out Carter's House.
I think their success stories are what fuels me, because it makes me realize that what I've been seeing, the patterns in the system, seeing Black founders struggle, it's not just me seeing it. Talking to them and hearing what they've been doing for years, but also seeing that the social impact space can work for us. It's not one of these things where, okay, we just leave it to the for-profit businesses and think about it later. No, nonprofits can use it, because Shawana used it, got her program fully funded. And now, and I'm talking about Shawana's working during COVID on the front lines, and, got her program fully funded. So it works. It works.
And shout out for real, man.
So let's just take a little break.
Okay.
Yeah. That Jasmine,
yes.
Now, your time in South Africa.
Yeah.
Other than working for the nonprofit organization, because it's always been a dream of mine to go
yes.
Then period. So I just want to know, like, what was that time like? Like, what did you learn out there?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That you took and brought back here to help you become what you are now.
Woo! I just did a talk to my friends this weekend about this, and South Africa was interesting. So look, so it was one of those time periods. I talked about this on my Instagram, but it was a transition time period. There's a lot of like generational curses, things that I was dealing with, that to the point I just needed to leave everybody and really be in solitude by myself. And I went through a program and all that stuff. And one of my college classmates, she was over there with me. So I knew people. But I think the one thing that really changed my perspective, it was the first time I ever feared the Black man. And I talk about that in with my friends. The day I got there, I knew about the rapings and the killings that were going on. I knew about that South Africa, or Cape Town, is the murder capital of the world. So I knew going in, I was like, I'm good though. I'm good. I'm gonna be fine. But going there and feeling that environment of fear, and really fearing the people who look like me. That was what was different for me. In college and throughout my whole life, Black men have protected me. You know, I've never had to be like, yes, I'm a business owner and an independent woman sometimes, but I know when to let my guard down when I have the Black men around me. And so, you know, my second day of work, I went in and they were like, Jasmine, we're going protesting. I'm like, we protesting what? And so that week that we had arrived to the day I started work, 4 women had been brutally murdered and raped. And so gender-based violence was a problem. And I can say, like, even within my experience, like, I was followed around. Like, I had to be cautious to the point where my coworker, she was born and raised in South Africa, and she was so paralyzed by fear. You could just see it in the way she moved. And so that was the one thing I had to adjust. But also coming back to the States, it made me appreciate the Black men that I had in my life more for being respectful, for protecting me, and for not carrying that mindset. So that was the thing. Even though that's a little down, I mean, we was lit over there. Like South Africa was lit. We was lit. Like we was turned every weekend. Like we got our work done. A lot of us went over there for legal and different things like that. But that, and the country's beautiful, but it's just one of those things. It's a heaviness about the country, and there's no middle class also. So it's either like living in the townships which are like the poor living in like metal shacks, or there's the 1% where you see the other side of the street driving Mercedes and Bugattis and all that, and you're like, whoa. And so, like, as an American, I can say also another thing that was different. As an American, you know, we over there with the 1%. Our dollar is way higher. You know, every weekend, me and my friends are in like 5-star restaurants balling out, you know, and we're like, whoa, like, what is going on? Like, we go back home, we're like college broke, you know? And so that was the difference, realizing also what privilege felt like for the first time in my entire life. You know, here in America, I don't feel privileged. I feel it a little bit as far as like my parents' social class status and different things like that. But as far as like my skin color, I don't feel privileged. But going into South Africa, being in this 1% and still being Black, I was like, oh, this is what privilege feels like a little bit. Like, this is what being in spaces where you don't have to question, like, are they going to kick me out feel like? So, yeah.
So do you think that we, like, what if everybody went back to that? Like, do you think that we will be able to take that and actually make that place where everybody's a part of 1%?
Yeah. I think I would like to put this out that we have to realize South Africa is about 20-ish, a little far ahead post-apartheid. So imagine America being 20 years post-Jim Crow. The state of mindset we were in during that time. And so I always tell people going to South Africa felt like going back in time. You know, I would ask them, I would be like, you know, we doing this in America, like this is how we're protesting, or this is how we're doing, like what's going on. And I always had to remind myself, they are 20 years post-apartheid. So I think, you know, our leaders here in America, I think it can do due diligence to really lift up our brothers and sisters there. I don't think that going there and really helping, there's a lot of things before apartheid in the history of the country that have to be unraveled. Just like everything's unraveling here in America, right. South Africa has its own set of things that has to unravel. I mean, tribalism, xenophobia, all that stuff. Here in America, we was brought here and we were like, we all up in here, we Black, so we're gonna love each other. There is still tribalism. It's still head to head. I can say when I was there, you know, it was very much tribalism between Zimbabweans and South Africans, burning down businesses, you know, hatred towards each other. And so there's a lot of things that, because I had this debate too, as Americans, we just cannot touch, you know, like we just cannot touch. But I think our leaders do provide some education as far as how movements are built, how to carry out movements. But the biggest thing we can do to support is support what they're doing, not come in as Americans be like, we have this on lock, but to say, hey, we're just here to support and let y'all do what y'all need to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes we definitely need to take our hands out of the pot.
Yeah,
sometimes. You don't need all that, right? Fingers and everything.
Yeah, for sure.
Here we got a question from the audience.
Yes. What are your fears? Okay, that's a good question. I can definitely say one is not COVID. Surprisingly, COVID is fear of my business. I would say the biggest fear would have to be product development. Like I say, I learned to code in college, but I'm not no like web developer type coder, all that stuff. And I wouldn't even say it's a fear. I don't really fear anything anymore. It's more of a challenge that I know I can overcome. Like I know that I can overcome, but it's just going to take some steps to get there. And so as far as my business product development, and also for the nonprofit side, I would say my biggest challenge is just getting that social impact space, awareness. Most people aren't talking about it. I have like 2 or 3 colleagues who are, but most people aren't. But how do I plan to overcome them? I plan to figure out how to code and learn to code deeper, get on Google, and figure out some stuff. Because like I said, I don't really fear the product. It's just a challenge that I know I need to educate myself more on, and then go forward on that.
Yeah, that coding stuff is great. Be on Mimo.
What? Huh?
Mimo.
What is it? Mimo?
MIMO. It's like it's an app where you can learn how to code on there. They help you build your own.
I need to do that. Yeah, because like I said, I've been using all the old stuff that I learned from college. Like we had to build websites from scratch from college. So that's why I was like, I got a little bit, but I don't got enough to be like what Google type stuff. No, but we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there.
Definitely. All right. So now the good stuff is coming. You know what I'm saying? I got any more questions?
Nah, you know what I'm saying? I'm ready for the good stuff.
All right. Crowd. Anybody in the crowd? Anybody got any questions? Right. Anybody? No, maybe so. Going once, going twice. Speak now, forever. Hold your peace. All right.
They want the good stuff.
They want the good stuff. All right. So we really want the good stuff. We're gonna give them the good stuff. Now we're gonna let Jasmine give her little course on creating cash flow.
Yes, what I do. Yes. Right. The good stuff.
Yeah. So get your pen, get your paper, whatever you need. Take some notes here because you can use these tips without a business, right?
Yeah, you definitely can. Like I said, the social impact space is for profit and nonprofit, so you can use these tips. So I guess where do I start, Tyreek? Where do I start?
The floor is yours.
All right, look here.
The Black on Tour floor is yours. You start where you feel like you're comfortable.
You can use Word Apparel as your.
Okay, because I was like, I need like a mocker example.
Okay.
Okay, so starting with creating cash flow without grants. Let me do my slides in the back of my head. So first, I always tell people is, you got to check your fundraising. What are you doing already? A lot of nonprofits come to me and they're like, Jasmine, I've been doing this for like 7 years and nothing's working. And so the only things that work for me are grants. And let me tell you, as a grant writer, they won't tell you, but grants are only supposed to be 2% of your overall annual budget. And so when you look at grant applications nowadays, they'll ask you, do you have any other income sources? And most Black founders cannot put that or fill that out, because they're either applying for that grant to fully get their program funded by it. But for a moment, I want to take us through the mind of a grant foundation. And so when you're a grant foundation, you're reviewing applications and you have maybe say $1 million to give for this one grant. And so the grant's highest amount is like $10,000. And so you get a nonprofit and you look at their application and you like, well, I like their program. I'm looking at their budget. The program can only run for the year for $2,000. So therefore, I'm gonna give them $2,000 to run the program. Only because I like their program. Their program fits our model. And so when you get it back, you're like, they gave me $2,000. I wanted the full $10,000. But that grant foundation saw what they liked. They gave you the amount to fully run it for the year. You are good in their eyes. Another scenario. You're a donation-based nonprofit. And let me just put that out there. Donation-based is not bad. You know, you can be donation-based. There's just pros and cons to it. But if you're donation-based, one of the cons is money will go through quicker if you don't have additional sources of income to really figure out how to fuel those donations. So you're a grant foundation. You're looking at their application and you're like, okay, they're requesting $10,000, but $10,000, they're going to go through that much quicker, meaning they're going to come back to us for more money. That is only supposed to be a one-time give. Therefore, I'm gonna give them $1,000 to cover the month of expenses. And so you get it back, you're like $1,000, like I was supposed to get $10,000, I'm supposed to do this. And so once you really start understanding the mind of a grant foundation and realizing they're 501c3s like you are, they gotta raise their money just like you. They can't just spend it, they have budgets also. You really start to understand that you cannot fully rely on grants as your main source of income. You just can't. It's one of those things. It will forever be a crutch for your organization. That's like relying on someone else to give you money when you know you can go out there and make that dime for yourself. That is what it's like. And so how to create cash flow without grants. I always tell people, well, what are your fundraisers doing? You know, who is your target audience? You have your programs also. So for example, say you have 3 programs that you're doing. World Apparel Co. Say they have a mentorship program and 2 other programs. But say they come to me and say, okay, we've been doing one fundraiser and we're trying to cover all of our expenses out of that one fundraiser. No, you have to have multiple sources of income. Right. So you attach a fundraiser to each program. So one program is going to have a fundraiser that you know you can break even on. The second program is going to have a totally different fundraiser that you break even on. And that third program is going to have a totally different fundraiser, or what I like to say is a fundraising program. If you want to do a big annual event or something and bring the community together to raise money, that can be your third program. But at least 2 of those need a separate fundraiser to create cash flow. And the biggest thing is you want to break even. The goal is not to, for example, your program is $2,000 for the year and you do a fundraiser and you make $5,000 and you're like, I'm gonna put the full $5,000 towards that program. Do not do that. Break even, put the $2,000 and then move the money up, because in a nonprofit industry, you are a business. You have overhead expenses. If you're in a building, you got to pay rent. Most importantly, you got to pay your salaries. You got to pay health insurance. If those people have benefits, you have expenses to pay. But as long as that program is covered for the year, you are good. You know, you don't need to put the full $5,000 and then say, okay, so how are we going to pay for the rest of our stuff the next month? You know, that's not being smart with our money. And so in that process, so 3 programs, 3 fundraisers, and that's the process. You attach that cash flow, break even, and continue to move the money up, 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 up until you get to the last thing. You're like, okay, everything's paid for. And Jasmine, what do I do with that money next? You start right back at the bottom. You go pay for what maybe programs need a little extra $50. You put the money into the programs and you keep moving that money up until it's at 0. But at that point, everything is paid for. You're not like, I'm supporting the community, but my rent's not getting paid. So the nonprofit's going to shut down within like 2 months. No, everything is paid for. But also with cash flow, I can say different sources of cash flow, because like we talked about, grants are 2% of your overall annual budget. We got to consider who else can give us money. So the main source of cash flow should be your programs, the fundraisers attached to the programs, and then nonprofit models. For example, like World Apparel Co., clothing designs, selling merchandise. If you figure out some other way to create a profit, that is your main business model. A lot of Goodwills, thrift stores. What do you think they've been doing for years? How do you think they've been funding their entire model? They decided, well, let's open a bunch of thrift stores and have people, not us. They don't fund any of the clothing in their stores. They have other people donate. They resell it. They get all the profit. They pay their bills and they Gucci. They've been Girl Scouts don't pay one girl for, unless they giving out a scholarship. They have little girls running around all town but selling cookies. Girl Scouts only pay for the merchandise of the cookies and to run their program. These girls are bringing in billions of dollars every year in every school. I mean, Salvation Armies, the same thing. These big companies have been finessing us for years with this same model. We just have not peeped the game or realized the system they've been playing against us. And so with that, for-profit models, if you want to open a thrift store, anything that has a for-profit model into it, fund your nonprofit. People start LLCs sometimes to fund their nonprofit. If you want to do that, that's cool. If you want to handle two businesses, that's on you, but you can do that. But even within the nonprofit, like I said, clothing lines, different things like that are for-profit models. Next, I was like, okay. But next, you have sponsorships. So people tend to not like to ask people for stuff, And so I can say in college, I funded a whole event off of pure sponsorships by calling people up every day saying, hey, we need this. Can you donate plates? Can you donate an event center? Can you donate, different items? Fully funded the event through sponsorships. So sponsorships are the next funding model. You need to ask these corporate partners for different things. But of course, going back, you have to build a relationship with them. You can ask, but that's only showing interest. You got to get to the commitment to get the sponsorship. Next is our investors. So in the nonprofit world, we call them donors. Donors are a little different, and I'll explain that in a little bit. But investors, why haven't you approached the CEOs that are downtown that are telling you, we just want to give out our money. We just need your help to give it to some community. Seek out those investors. Get on Angels List, Crunchbase, get on LinkedIn. Find the investors in your area and then see what are they interested in. If you find a health investor and you're like a youth nonprofit, okay, let's be a little bit smart now. Let's not reach out to them, but find people in your niche. And those investors, of course, you have to, again, develop a relationship with them. You got to get to their full-time commitment. But this is also cash flow for you. Last is your donors. And so a lot of people, when they talk about donors, they like to talk about them in the sense that they're these big people that give us thousands of dollars. No, your donors is the kid that gives $25 because he participated in your program and he's like, I just want to support. It's the mother who can only give 15 because you give her groceries every week and she just wants to give back a little bit. Those are your donors. And with all of this, sponsorships, investors, and donors, I would like to say that these are allowance for your nonprofit. So again, like we said, your for-profit models and your fundraisers are your main source of cash flow. If those aren't making money, you need to go back to the drawing board. Don't reach out to an investor. Don't even think about increasing sending out a newsletter or email to get more donations. Go back to the drawing board, because the fundraisers, you got to hit your target audience. They got to want to participate with you. So if those are not working, you got to figure out what your income is, what's going on with your income. And then you use those other people, investors, donors, and sponsors as allowance. They are only there to, kind of take off the weight of cash flow. When you have a program and we got to get pencils and paper, and you can reach out to a sponsor and they're going to give pencils and paper for free, that's something you don't got to pay for. But in that fundraiser, I've already made my $2,000. I've already broken even. So I'm good for the year. So that means I can just put that money somewhere else because I don't have to pay for pencils and paper. I can move it somewhere else, but everything's already paid for. And then, of course, last is your grants. But the thing is, we use grants as capital. And capital is to leverage growth in a company. You have money capital, different assets, all that. But we use grants as capital because, one, they're 2%. You can't really do much with 2% when you have a whole budget to cover. Right. And within all of that, say you have your program, you broke an even on your program, and you want to add 50 more students. Those 50 students might cost another $1,000. Okay, we're going to go apply for a grant to leverage growth in our organization to get those 50 students. We apply for the grant, we get it. Cool, we can add 50 more students, we Gucci. But say that we don't get the grant. We are not stressed out now, because if we can't add 50 students, maybe we need to dial back to our original. But we know the maximum and the minimum, $2,000, we are covered for the year. We can afford our program and it's fully covered. If we get $1,000, that's good. We can add or do more with whatever we want to do with that grant. But if not, we are not stressed. We're just like, okay, cool. They didn't want to give us the money. We still good over here. So in all of that, that is the cash flow model in all the gems that I drop on a daily basis, and like I said, it's all about what is your foundation. If those fundraisers aren't working, one, if your program's not working, because a lot of people be like, I can raise the money, I can get the events, but nobody wants to come out and participate in my program. Are you hitting your ideal target audience? Okay, your programs work, but your fundraisers are not working at all. Are you hitting your ideal target audience? Have you asked them in a survey what they even like to do? You throwing out ideas to them and hoping that they participate, thinking that they like it. But have you sent out a survey, asked, if we did a fundraiser, what would you like to see? How would you like to do? It might be as simple as they want to do a skate night at the rink, and you might make more money by doing that. And you're like, I didn't even think to do a skate night, So yeah, so that's how you get your nonprofit up and moving and thinking about cash flow. I want Black founders to get out of this mindset that we have to rely on grants or assistance. No, we are fully capable, like Salvation Army and Goodwill, to do it without a grant. Does Salvation Army and Goodwill get grants? Yes, they do, of course. But we are fully capable to build those business models. And I also tell people, because I can say for millennial founders, they call me and they're like, Jasmine, I got this idea and I want to do this and this and that. And I tell them, so you realize 6 months into this game, you're going to get burnt out. The nonprofit industry is harder than the for-profit industry. This is not a game of, this is not clout. Let me tell y'all right now, this is not clout. This is hard work behind the scenes. This is trudging through the mud 24/7. So if you think I'm gonna start this scholarship program, I'm gonna start this nonprofit to make myself look good, 6 months in, it's gonna fail. It's gonna burn out.
Man.
Like it just is. And then I'd say like 7 months, if you don't have a business plan, you definitely out the game. Like this is a serious game. You have to have a plan. You have to have a business plan. You have to have a direction for where you're going. But also you have to adjust your mindset to know, yes, I might want the notoriety. Yes, I see the problem. But trust me, there's 10 nonprofits in the same demographic you that see the same problem, that got the same story as you. What makes you different? What are your passions? What is your business plan on how you're going to execute cash flow and be creative to get the community to interact with you? Right. That's what makes you different.
Right.
Man. Round of applause. Give a round of applause. Man. So many games.
Man. This right here was like seriously a lot, because I know like man, like this needs to go down in the books, because the stuff that she's giving us right now, like it just broke down.
Yeah.
Step by step. Not just she ain't step a step. She ain't take a shortcut. No. Step by step. Like, come on, man. Like this right here, this is very much needed. I really applaud you. I really salute you. Like,
Thank you.
Really do, like, because you got this down like science. Like, it's like you look down, you look at a piece of paper. I ain't seen you do nothing. That's like amazing to me. Like how you can like actually help people and like take a vision and be like, Jasmine, I want to do this, and then boom, and it's like, I got you. I'm proud for you right here, and like that's amazing to me. I really do salute you, Queen.
Thank you.
Yes, man. I told y'all this was gonna be a great interview. So everybody who missed out, you can catch it on YouTube.
Right.
It's gonna be on YouTube.
It is.
So let me give y'all, let me show y'all her page one more time. Run the page up.
Yes, I drop all types of knowledge on there all the time. So if you follow me, you're gonna find out something about the nonprofit industry and different things like that. So yeah,
absolutely. And thank you so much for being a part of this.
Welcome.
I was like, should I ask right now? Yeah, let me just go ahead. And she was like, absolutely. So, I salute you.
Yeah, this is a perfect time for this. This is a perfect time. This was perfect for her to be on this around this time, because this is a time right now where people are actually going for the nonprofit. And trying to start those type of things because they're trying to figure out a way to help. And if you're trying to figure out a way to help and figure out a way to get your stuff off the ground, this is the person that you need to hit up right now.
Come talk to me. Because I can say for anybody who's trying to start a nonprofit, COVID tripled the target audience. So especially, it tripled. I have nonprofits who were like, Jasmine, I usually serve 200 people and I expect to serve 1,200 people now. Like, yeah. So if you're serious about it, like people need the help. COVID and with the unemployment rate really skyrocketed that. But like I said, you got to be serious. This is a serious game. Anybody who talks to me on the strategy call will tell you, like, I don't sugarcoat this. This is serious work you have to put in. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much one more time. We can give it up. Give it up to
No, thank you to y'all. Like, I've been watching this series like every week. I'm like, okay, this is dope. This is dope. I love it.
Like, hopefully, you know what I'm saying, with COVID over with, you know what I'm saying, we can, you know what I'm saying, we can actually get the going out, you know what I'm saying, actually visiting some of the places, you know what I'm saying, because for sure, like, you got an office, don't you?
I mean, I'm always at Fort Cliff. If anybody needs to find me, I'm at Fort Cliff too often.
Okay.
Yeah, no office, but like if you need to find me, we need to meet up. Fort Cliff. That's where I'm at.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As we get to close, I'm gonna throw my shameless plug in there. Like I say every week, if you want to support, Cash App is at the bottom now. Shout out Fort Cliff. Like we said, we got the August 15th event, Back to School Festival, 6th annual. It's going to be a little different this year. It will be a streamed live concert, and then we'll also have the backpack giveaways, but we'll have it as a drive-through, and it will be different remote locations where you can pick up bags due to COVID. Doesn't matter if COVID's still going on, because we still going to adapt, and we're going to find a way to serve the community at all times. Shout out Kennedy, and shout out Taylor, shout out Crystal, shout out Xavier, everybody on that 402 staff, man. That's my fam. I really salute y'all for what y'all do in the community, man. Thank you, Jasmine, one more time for coming.
One last thing. So I dropped all this information, but I will be a part of the Raise More Summit. And I'll be posting that tomorrow about that. So it's a free summit for all nonprofits. And it's not just me, it's over 100 different fundraising speakers across the country. So if you want to hear more about raising cash flow without grants, you can definitely come hit me up on my Instagram. But definitely tune into that. Like I said, it's free registration. It's 100 nonprofit professionals dropping information from all different topics. So I'll be posting that tomorrow, but please register. That's free knowledge. Free knowledge.
Absolutely.
Free knowledge.
You catch me registering on E. Thank you so much for being a part of this episode today. And we're gonna have you back again, because you know what? I want to have you back when the crowd is bigger. We have a bigger crowd.
Yeah.
Because this right here is I'm telling you, like, come on, man.
Hey.
You know what, man?
Thank you, and I'm gonna talk to you soon and later. We chop it up.
Yeah, we always,
Thank you for coming out tonight, and we shall see you again.
Yes.
Peace.
Peace.